let me get on to the topic, everything about IPR. Okay. Actually, when I do this, I will also cover a bit of jurisprudence because before I go to, in jurisprudence, you have a topic on property actually. Okay. Before I go to industrial property, I want you all to understand what is property. Okay. Property is an interest enforceable at law. So, for you to have property, you must have law. Who makes the law? It is the state which makes the law. So, when does the state come into existence? A state will come into existence only when there is a harvestable surplus of wealth. This is very, very important. I want you to understand. First is property is an interest enforceable at law. Secondly, for something to be recognized as property, there must be law. Three, most of we positivist fellows, whether you are a Jane Austen or a Hans Kelsen, you always relate law with the state. Law is the command of the sovereign. Okay. Non-compliance of which is punishable with sanctions. That is what is Jane Austen's definition of law. So, for you to have property, you must have law, you must also have state. When the state comes into existence, only when there is a harvestable surplus of wealth, there will be state. If there is no harvestable surplus, there will not be a state. That's what is happening in many parts of Siberia, Antarctica, and other places, even if there are human. So the next thing the reason deter or the reason of birth of a state is availability of harvestable surplus of wealth. Okay. So I want you to understand that there is some kind of a social contract between the state and the citizen. Okay. Why do you pay taxes? Not because we love the state and we are very, very duty conscious. We want the state to ensure respect for private proprietary rights. This is very, very important. The state has to protect your proprietary rights. For the state to protect proprietary rights, you grudgingly pay taxes. Okay. See, I want you to understand that the quest for wealth creation. Hey, let me tell you, all of us have in this inherent. This is inherent. Some people have more, some people have less, some people are more lucky, others are less lucky, but everybody wants to make money. There is no doubt about that. Now, how you make money is different actually. And how much money you want to make is also different. But everybody wants to make money. So how do you make money? Let us come to the tools of wealth creation. By what all methods we can create wealth? Now they say about 20,000 years ago, humans evolved from being hunter-gatherers to agriculturists. This is the first serious application of technology. Okay. If you ask me, when did the history of technology begin? It began when the humans evolved from being hunter-gatherers to agriculturists. So what happened? Instead of collecting what was already grown due to nature, whether it is a plant or animal, okay, the humans started growing plants and animals, okay, pastoral community. That is what the entire Aryan civilization is all about actually. In fact, the Dravidian civilization had little more than pastoralism. Anyway, I don't want to go into the origin Dravidian controversy, and that is not part of my lecture also. But please remember, A pastoral society, that is what is the area Aryan civilization is. So what happened? Land began to symbolize wealth. Okay. Now, after land, what happened? If you see Silappathigaram, I'm sorry that there may be some non-Tamils here, sure, but it's actually a national classic. Uh, the in 2000 years ago, roughly, it took place. There are different type of traders. The guys who collect and sell it the day, the guys who collect and sell it for a week, the guys who collect it for the purpose of giving it to traders, the guys who collect it for the purpose of giving it to the exporters. They are talking about different classes of, like you have a subcaste and caste. Okay, caste and a subcaste. Within the caste of the traders, there have been several subcastes. So please remember, the trade was there even from the second century. Okay, that is the point I was wanting to convey. Now, by about 10th century, you must have heard about something like Hanseatic Trading League. This is a very important thing in international history. These Hanseatic Trading League guys are basically Norway, Sweden, Finland people actually. And these guys, their important commodities they traded is fish, white salt. Okay. And this Hanseatic Trading League virtually controlled Europe. So you look at India, Tata and Birla. These are the biggest, at least when I was a college student, these two families were the richest families in India. And these people were not landowners. You understand? From the land being an important tool of wealth gathering, trade becomes a very important tool of wealth gathering. Now, from trade, that becomes the next tool, namely manufacturing. Henry Ford, Jamnalal Bajaj, Dhirubhai Ambani. These three people are very, very interesting. Uh, Without Henry Ford was actually the pioneer of the automobiles. Um, at that time, when he manufactured cars, the condition of the American roads were probably much worse than the condition of the Indian roads today. I mean, he steadfastly pursued. He became somebody very important. Bajaj. Everybody was making textile mills and all liquor factories and sugar factories. And Mahatma Gandhi wanted him to do an engineering good actually. And he started Bajaj Auto and a lot of industries. Dhirubhai Ambani is really a very great person in my opinion. I had not particularly liked him when he made his entry into the Indian business scene. Anyway, that's besides the point. But let me tell you that his companies today own quite a lot of money. And they have made lots of people in India richer actually. So from trade, manufacturing becomes the most important wealth creating tool. Okay. Now I think this is what we are looking for. Okay. When somebody is coming from outside, they're going to give me a job and the job is going to get me money. All right. Now do a quick survey of wealthy Indians here. 1950 to 1970. If you have to be rich in India, you will have to come in this category. Farmer kings, zamindars, landlord, Tatas, Birlas, Jamlalal, Bajaj. You know something very common about all these fellows? All of them inherited wealth here. They already had a first million piled up in their house and they used the first million for making the million in dollar term and subsequently probably some of them graduated to dollar billionaires also. Look at 1970 to 1990. This is a very interesting thing. Dhirubhai Ambani, Nusli Wadia, TVS, TTK, Dr. Reddy, Anji Reddy, Ranbaxy, Peramal. All these guys, many of them were wealthy also. Nusli Wadia is the grandson of Muhammad Ali Jinnah. Dhirubhai Ambani began as a petrol pump attendant in Gulf, Eden. TVS family, actually they were landlords, all right, but originally they started off with a cycle hiring shop. TTK is an interesting person. He was a political guy, and there were allegations about Mudra and things like that. But none of his family members are in politics today. But nevertheless, they are an industrial empire. Gurbakh Singh, Ranbakh Singh, Piramal. Piramal was, of course, reasonably from a comfortable family. Now, come to the richest people of the 1990 to 2000. Azim Premji, of course, his father was a rich man. Western India Oil Company, Gujarati trader of great accomplishment. Shiv Nadar, Gururaj Deshpande, Narayana Murthy, Jagdish, Samir Bhatia, Kiran Majumdar Shah. In this group, you can only treat Azim Premji and Majumdar Shah came from upper middle class families. All others came from lower middle class families like you and mine here. I want you to appreciate that. The last of the group are the products of the technological revolution. Look at the richest man in the United States today. Jeff Bezos, Musk, Bill Gates, okay, and a lot of others. If you put the top five, none of their parents were richer. Huh? In fact, Mr. Ford's children do not figure there. Rockefeller's children do not figure there. These technology czars figure there. So what I want you to understand is technology has become the most important tool for wealth creation. And IPR is the fencing tool with which holders of technology maximize their profit. This is the first lesson in IPR here. Huh? What is an IPR? It's actually a legal fencing tool. For example, if you have 15 acres, the best way to protect it is to put a fence around it. But if your market is regional, national, or global, then you need IPR to fence it. All right. All right. Now let us understand quickly the history of international IPR regime. Greek city-states were first to grant patents for inventions during 15th century. But until Industrial Revolution, IPR did not get any commercial or legal significance. Okay. When was Industrial Revolution? It started somewhere in the 16th century, 17th century, it went on, 18th century, it continued actually. So that is the 300 years. But with the onset of Industrial Revolution, what followed was colonization. And the colonization increased the importance of IPR. Very importantly, markets are getting global. The commercial globalization brought about by WTO further improved the status of IPR in global trade. That is why I say, when I first enrolled as a patent agent, my registration number is 120 here. Okay. At that time, the Indian population was something like 800, 900 million actually. Today, there are about 3,000 patent agents in the country. That is for a population of 1.2 billion people. A country like United States of America that has something like 300 million population has somebody like 30,000 patent agents in active roles. You understand? There is a terrific depth of human resources in this branch, and therefore I expect that more questions will come for examination from this, even though there are, okay, now, first, you must be noticing that I put the word industrial property right on top and intellectual property system at the bottom. The right terminology is industrial property right. I say this with authority because the first convention on industrial property, namely Paris Convention on Industrial Property, talks about intellectual property, but the word that employs is industrial property. Because for some type of IPR, you don't really need any intellectual effort. I'll come to that later on actually. Now, I want you to basically understand two important things about IPR before proceeding further. First characteristic of every IPR is that any IPR is some kind of a monopoly. Now I will ask you a question. If I ask you a question, whether monopoly is good or bad, if you are a trader, you will say, if I have the monopoly, it is good. But if my competitor is going to have that monopoly, it is bad. So monopoly becomes good or bad depending upon who is going to have it. Okay. Mr. I think we should put the slideshow, sir. You know why? Uh, Only then, why is that it is coming? Okay, right. I think I'll do this. What I want to tell you is that it's some kind of a monopoly. Okay. If you monopoly is not good, let's understand that we are talking about free trade. Free trade implies there is perfect competition. Competition gets distorted when there is monopoly. So there is a competition law also about which we are going to be discussing in due course of time. So a monopoly will have to be strictly justified and also strictly construed. Okay. Now, it has to be strictly construed. What is this here? I think coming in the
Hide,
bottom.
hide.
Hide. All right. Strictly construed. Common. So there are two type of IPR rights actually. Strictly construed means there cannot be a liberal interpretation of a monopoly. Rights of the women, rights of downtrodden, rights of the accused, freedom of under trial. All these areas there will be a liberal construction. But in case of IPR, there cannot be a liberal construction and it will have to be strictly construed. There are two types of IPR. One is common law IPR, the other is statutory IPR. Common law IPR existed even before there was some kind of a statute on the point, like the treaty and the custom. Okay, custom was there, many of the customary norms became into a treaty. Like that, in case of common law IPR, these rights were there already. The statute subsequently came and gave legal recognition to it. And the most essential characteristic is that registration is not compulsory for common law IPR. Now they are statutory, there are statutes on that. But originally it was essentially a common law IPR. And the first thing about it is that registration is not compulsory, but it is desirable. The second thing is that copyrights enjoy inherent protection. Inherent protection means the holder will not have to comply with any formality for the purpose of acquiring this right. What he has to do? He has to put the name of the owner. See in a circle. Year of publication. Optionally the place. If he puts all these things, see in a circle, name of the owner, see in the circle, okay, year of publication, optionally place, you get a copyright for it actually. I mean, registration, you can have it done. In US, the law is very, very simple. You can have an unregistered copyright, but if you want to sue somebody for infringement, then before that, go get it registered. But in the case of statutory IPR, registration is compulsory. Okay. Now, let us come to the new generation IPR. See, these four were the classical IPR: patent, trademark, copyright, and design. Now you have new generation IPR. When I was a law student, I only heard about these four. Now, when I became a law teacher, I ended up becoming teaching eight actually. We'll see one after another. Geographical indicator. Protection is for goods that have a specific geographical origin. That is very important. Possesses qualities or reputation due to place of that origin. I'll tell you an illustration. Mysore Pak, Mangalore Bonda, Madur Vada, Kanjipuram Idli. If you ask me if these things are geographical indicator, my clear answer is none of them are. Okay? If you know the ingredients and if you know the method of preparation, you can make this in lunar surface or Mars actually. By and large, it will taste the same, irrespective of the geographical prefix that has been given to it. But if I ask you a question, suppose you take a tea plant from Darjeeling and plant it in Nilgiris, will it grow? Yes, it will. But the sapling is from Darjeeling. It will grow. It is grown in Nilgiris. Will it have the qualities of the Darjeeling tea? That is a question you should ask. Natural answer is no. You will ask the further question, why? Reason is very simple. The Darjeeling Kalimpang region receives something like 2000 millimeters of rain every year. The Nilgiris receives only about 1200 millimeters of rain. So 800 millimeters of rain is less, and there is no supplementary irrigation for most of the plantation crops. So number one, the Nilgiris tea is not so luxuriously grown in terms of water like the Darjeeling tea. Number two, the Darjeeling Kalimpang region, in 1 year, they have something like 200 days of mist. But the Nilgiri region has less than about 120 to 140 days of mist. So 60 days of mist is not there. This again affects the product quality. Third, Himalayas are known to be the youngest mountain range in the world, which has been created due to what you call as the crash of the tectonic plates. So we call them, in geologists will call it as a folded mountains. There are a lot of folds in the mountain, ups and downs, and in the ups also there are downs. And one of the essential characteristic of these folded mountains is that they have a very high mineral content. Whereas Western Ghats, it's one of the oldest mountain ranges in the world. Most of the minerals in the mountain range had been washed off due to millions of years of rainfall. So when you compare the tea, Darjeeling sapling, which is grown in Nilgiris, with the tea, which is grown in Darjeeling, these two things are totally different things. And yet another characteristic about this geographical indicator is that geographical indicator is some kind of a community IPR. It cannot be freely transferred for money. Okay. Today, TikTok is owned by ByteDance. Tomorrow, it can be sold to Reliance or Microsoft or Facebook or Apple. Whereas, nobody can transfer the Darjeeling tea thing for money. There must be a specific link between the products and the original place of protection. Okay. And geographical indicator will be perpetual. Actually, except to trademark, all the IPR will expire here. Even trademark, you got to be doing it. Now, they are talking about the procedure in respect of some IPR. I'll have to talk to that, and now I don't expect questions. I don't want to take chances actually. Now, this is the flow chart. Okay. Advertisement, processing, and after that, lot of things actually. Now, This is what you need to have, okay, for the purpose of filing a geographical indicator application. Most importantly, clause 4, documentary evidence in support of the legal status of the applicant. You must have an articles and memorandum of association, bylaws, the criteria by which you will grant registration to your users who may in turn use the geographical indicator in their product. Who are the members of your organization? Who are the producers? And if it originates in some other country, convention certificate, proof of origin, everything must be there. And if you do all these things right, you can get this IPR within a period of 9 to 1 year and 3 months. Okay, that is one type of an IPR. The second is plant varieties registration. This is new variety of an existing species. It discloses a new characteristic which is beneficial. For example, I'll give you an illustration. Tomato. Tomato rots in about 15 to 20 days. Okay. Now there is one gene which is responsible for rotting in tomato. By biogenetic modification, you remove that gene. So the shelf life of the tomato increases from 20 days to 40 to 60 days. This is beneficial. The tomato doesn't taste better. Okay. The yield of the tomato does not increase. But one quality which is not considered a good quality is removed, and that makes the species a better species. For example, a rose plant without thorns. That is beneficial. Okay. A rose that doesn't rot for weeks. That is beneficial. Or a jasmine plant which is having more jasmine oil. I don't know, some of you great girls may have noticed there are what you call biogenetically modified jasmine and the jadi flowers which have more aromatic content. And if you have it on your head, you will have a headache actually. So sometimes what you consider as beneficial may not actually be beneficial to the consumer, but it will be beneficial to the industry. You remember the industrial product commands a much better price in the market, so that is for it. So they must have novelty, distinctiveness, uniformity, and stability. And Indian law also protects the right of the farmer to use the seeds of the new variety. The period of protection depends on the type. Okay. Actually, it is not really part of your syllabus. I saw that actually, but nevertheless, I wanted you to. They are talking about international treaties, and India is a member of this treaty actually. Semiconductor chips. This is the backbone of all electronic product. Registration of the chip is compulsory. Availing legal protection, you have to have originality. Now, please remember, you have to understand the word originality because you will find this expression in copyright law also. What is this originality? This is a concept which I want you to understand. Maybe there will be a question on that from the point of view of the copyright law. Originality simply means owes its origin to the author. That's all here. You don't have to be the first fellow. Whereas in the patent law and in the plant varieties, you see the word novelty. I want you to understand the distinction between the concept originality and novelty. Yesterday I said something. Today you say the same thing today. Yesterday I say something. Today you say the same thing. Both of us are original. Yesterday I said that thing, I said it for the first time in the world. I was novel. Today you are saying the same thing. Today you are original but not novel because it was said earlier. So originality simply means owes its origin to author. Distinctiveness. This distinctiveness is something you will find this expression in trademark law also. Trademark registration process is part of the syllabi. There may be some questions on that. And then C, not commercially exploited in India or abroad. So what we are talking about in all these cases is there are two kinds of novelty. One is local novelty, the other is global novelty. I want you to appreciate that the novelty criteria for most of the IPR in India is global novelty and not local novelty. All right. This is the most important thing. I jokingly used to remark to all my students, copyright law is some kind of a constitutional lawyer. You know why? Within the branch of, within the umbrella of copyright, you have different rights. And each rights have different criteria, different time frame, and different content is guaranteed. It protects literary work, artistic work, movies, dramas, in songs. When we are talking about songs, lyrics are as important as the musical composition. But lyrics, there may, for example, Tyagaraja, okay, the Kirtanas of Tyagaraja or Swadi Tirunal, there may not be copyright in that. But somebody can set it to a new music and they can claim there's a big difference. Books, films, computer software. See, I want you to appreciate, see, when I'm talking about this IPR, I want you to understand the differences between each other and the commonality between each other so that you will be in a position to evolve a overall comprehensive IPR policy. That is what all the companies are really bothered about. In research, there are three kinds of research. First research is basic research, or called as the pure research, fundamental research. These are the words you use. Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, pure research scientist, applied research scientist. These are the words you hear. Pure research or fundamental research, there are people like Sir Isaac Newton, okay, Charles Darwin. These guys were reasonably comfortable here. They were not really looking for a job. Or let us say even Sir C.V. Raman. Let's take the Sir C.V. Raman's illustration. What did Sir C.V. Raman find here? Actually, he tried to give answer to two basic questions. Why the sky is blue? Why the ocean is blue? Most of us have seen sky. Most of us know the sky and sea are blue. But none of us ask the question, why it is blue? You may ask a question and many people did not have an answer till Raman gave his Raman's effect. He came to a conclusion, very simple. Light is made of 7 colors. The most dominant color is blue color. When you see from a distance, all other less dominant colors get masked by the most dominant color. This is what is called as Raman's effect. Okay. This is actually pure research. This is for the purpose of expanding the frontiers of knowledge. There is no boss sitting over Raman or Newton and say, unless you do this, unless you pass the UGC examination, you are not going to get the state or union scale. Something like that was not on the red actually, right? They did it essentially for the purpose of improving the frontiers of knowledge. This is called as pure research. 2. Applied research. Newton came up with this theory. To every action there will be an equal and opposite reaction. Okay? Stevenson, Wright brothers, all these guys used this principle for the purpose of creating a jet engine. That guy, or Louis Pasteur, okay, the guy who was able, he invented the pasteurization of milk and he is the father of the subject of vaccination, right? Pasteur, okay. Now, these guys wanted to use technology to produce something useful. These guys are applied researchers, okay? PhD Institute of Applied Research. In other words, you know the distinction between a MSc guy and an MTech guy. One guy is a pure researcher, the other guy is an applied researcher. And nowadays, you have a third category of people called extension researchers. These people are very, very important today. The biggest extension researcher of our country is Mr. M.S. Swaminathan. You know why he is an extension researcher? Seeds were developed in Norman Borlaug, right? The Mexican dark wheat, which is the basic thing behind the Green Revolution. It was created in American labs. Now this technology came to India. Indian farmers were growing wheat, but this wheat had to be grown differently. So people like M.S. Swaminathan introduced this wheat here and make sure the technology gets diffused among the society. And these people's role is very important in poverty eradication. These people are known as extension researchers. So I want you to understand that pure research is protected by copyright law and applied and extension researchers are protected by patents and designs, etc., etc. The requirement of copyrights are originality and reduction into tangible form. Originality, I told you, it owes its origin to the author. The author need not be the first fellow, okay? He can be third, fourth or fifth fellow. In fact, there can be any number of runners of prize in copyright law. And some of the runners of prize are far more valuable than the winner's prize. For example, take this song, Vande Mataram. Vande Mataram was by Bankim Chandra Chatterjee, right? And he was a big guy, all right, but he didn't make any money out of the poetry, right? And let us take the case of the Tirupur Kumaran in Tamil Nadu. Tirupur Kumaran went around the streets of Tirupur near Coimbatore with the national flag on hand, shouted Vande Mataram. Cop hit him with the lathi, shouted Vande Mataram. This time he hit him with the head. Third time, right on the head, he died. But just imagine the amount of money A.R. Rahman made in Vande Mataram. So that is why I was trying to tell you that copyright law, there are any number of runners of prizes, and in fact, some of the runners of prizes are far more valuable. How much money Tyagaraja made here? How much money Beethoven made? Ask yourself all these questions. Does it compare anywhere near what our Ilayaraja, A.R. Rahman or the other music directors are making? So copyright law facilitates a lot of further improvements, each one qualifying for a copyright. All right. Reduction into tangible form. This is very, very important. When I give a lecture, I have a special right called performer's right, and this performer's right is also there in the copyright law. But that is not the same as the copyright right, okay? And this performer's right is available also to a snake charmer. You know that? He has got that right under copyright law. And you know the jugglers, you know, the people who use 5 or 10 balls and, make that run into a circle, he is entitled for a performer's right. But for you to get a copyright, you must reduce it into tangible form. It only means, I used to tell my fellow teachers jocularly, any amount of verbal diarrhea will not qualify you for copyright protection. But when the verbal diarrhea is converted into a stupid PowerPoint or recorded in a camera, it gets converted into a tangible form, and from that point onwards, you will be eligible for a copyright protection on that. All right. These are the different type of rights that are granted to the copyright owner: reproduce the work, issue copies of the work to the public, perform the work in public, communicate to the public, make a cinematographic film, sound recording in respect of the work, make translation of the work, adaptation of the work. You have any number of work. But the best part is about copyright law is that relatively the fair use doctrine, okay, it is not specifically mentioned in your syllabi, but I thought there is no way you will understand copyright law without the right of the fair use. Fair use is one thing. And you have relatively simpler provisions for compulsory licensing under copyright law. Okay, so that makes, and most important thing about the copyright law is that the copyright law protects only the form and not the content. You have for cinematographic, you have some type of protection. You have sound recording, you have some type of protection. All these things, I suggest that, you have a look at it, and I will only talk about some other aspects of copyright law before I go to the next topic. Okay. Now, I told you this form and content dichotomy. This is what, there might be a question on that. Okay. What is form and content dichotomy? See, the copyright law protects only the form of expression. It does not protect the idea behind the expression. What do I mean by that? Suppose I have a copyright for the expression Rama killed Ravana. Okay, let's assume that I have a copyright for this expression. You say Ravana was killed by Rama. So what you are doing? You have changed the form of my expression. So this will not be an infringement. You understand what I am saying? That is why even if there is one software before, there can be some other software by a different alternate route for the same purpose. Only thing is the route may be a little more difficult, a little more extra. So what I am trying to tell you here is that copyright law protects only the form of expression. Okay? And it does not protect the content or the idea behind the expression. Patents, designs, plant varieties, they are considered better protection because all commercial expressions of that idea are protected by patent designs and all that. That is what is called as a bigger protection. And most important thing I want you to understand is that copyright law does not bother about the quality of the work. This is what I used to say as a teacher. Rank stupidity. If it is original stupidity, will qualify for copyright protection. The classic case is, I don't know how many of you know this song. Even the North Indians will know this song. Why this Kolaveri di? Do you remember that song? Once, do you know that at least?
Yes, sir.
Actually, the lyrics are stupid. The music is mediocre. There's nothing good about that. I at least I wasn't a great fan actually. I love this, what do you call, street art. Okay. I mean, there was supposed to be some kind of a street art, but it wasn't actually. But the amount of success that it had soon after it was released, made me understand the importance of copyright law. Something so stupid, something so insipid, something that doesn't have any merit in it, becomes an overnight hit. And okay, as I told you, it doesn't bother about the quality of the thing. All right, there are, I have talked about the performers' right. I give this essential information for you because sometimes there might be a question on the duration of the different type of copyrights actually. That is why these slides are important, and I stay here for a minute and before I go to the next one actually. All right. This is the address of the copyright office, and okay. Now we will come to this. To me, at least, actually, in many ways, I used to think I made a mistake. When I finished law, say way back in 1980, I wanted to call myself a patent lawyer. It's just that, what do you call, a kick or a side thrill or whatever. Actually, there was no work in India at that point of time. I wanted to learn, and there was no scope for me to learn. That's why I went to Delhi only to learn this actually. And sometimes I think, hey, instead of patent, if I had probably focused more on trademark and on corporate finance, probably I would have made more money. That's okay, that's besides the point. But let me tell you, as far as patent is concerned, it's a very important area. You know why I say it? I think I told you that the class that there is a dearth of trained human resources in this country, in this important branch of law. I must tell you that patenting is 80% science and technology, or 85% science and technology, and just 15% law. It will be easier for a scientist to learn patent law than a lawyer to understand the science and technology behind it. We have with us in our class today Lakshmi, Priya, who's a doctorate in microbiology and subsequently became a patent lawyer, and she is now teaching law and she is part of our group today. Anyway, leave that aside. What I am trying to tell you here is patent is easier for a scientist or a technologist to understand and appreciate better than a lawyer to understand the technology. All right, I began by saying that this is very, very important. You know why? Dr. Abdul Kalam said, by 2020, we should become a superpower. I think we have not become. Fair enough, that's not a bad idea. But he did visualize that this is one of the goals. So what is the next realistic target? At least by 2030, we should become a world superpower. For us to become a world superpower, we need a lot of patent lawyers. That is very important because India is now becoming, it was always in the past, it was a place of many inventions. Now the Indian invention and the innovation rate is on the increase for various reasons. I don't want to go into that. So for India to become an economic superpower in 2030, we need a lot of patent lawyers, and you have to take a special examination from the Ministry of Industrial Policy, okay, for the Ministry of Industries and Public Policy, okay, for you to qualify that. Now, patent is application of created knowledge to produce useful result. That is why in the past I was trying to give you the distinction between basic research, applied research, extension research. Requirement or novelty and utility. We will look at these concepts separately. Utility means the invention is capable of industrial application. Okay. All inventions that have commercial application, except those that are excluded from patentability, there will be a patent. Registration is compulsory. Now, I think, earlier I told you, monopoly is bad. Okay. Something, I was a teacher in the National Law School of India during 1988 to 91, when 92 probably, when the college was founded. The college song of National Law School is A verse from Rabindranath Tagore. It runs like this and ends like this. Where the knowledge is free, into the heaven of freedom, my father, let my country away. So I want to ask you whether the knowledge is free. Even for this course, I am charging here. Knowledge is no more free, right? Let's understand that actually. So this is Tagore is a romantic idealist. Okay, he wanted knowledge to be free, but the industrial society do not want the knowledge to be free. Now, why do you have patent protection? There are two theories, there is a talk about theory also in our syllabi. So I thought that these things are important that I must focus on. I have been seeing the syllabi, and in fact I have been applying my mind on the syllabi, and that is why I have been giving you comments. And I would like you to respond on that 5 or 6 points, I had sent it to the Scholars Study Circle. Anyway, I will definitely take into consideration what you say, but let me assure you that I have a teaching plan and I intend sticking to that actually. All right, theory. Coming back. Enables the inventor to disclose the invention to public instead of keeping it a trade secret. In Kerala and Tamil Nadu, there was an art called Todu Vanmam. If you had seen the Indian movie, you would have understood that the senior Kamala Hassan was supposed to be extremely good at this Todu Vanmam. He could kill people, immobilize them by a touch, etc., etc. And this is actually an ancient Keralite and a Tamil art. This Todu Varmam is almost extinct today. It is pretty close to the acupuncture. There are various nerve points in your body, and selective application of pressure in any of the nerve points can either reduce your pain or immobilize you, or it can even kill you. That's exactly the science both Chinese have it. Chinese developed it into acupuncture, that nerve points theory, and Indians developed it into a Todu Varmam. The Todu Varmam became an extinct art. You know why? Because the Asan will not teach everything to his disciple. If he teaches that to his disciple, the disciple will question him even during the lifetime of the Asan and become the Asan himself actually. So, when the Asan of Todu Varmam is about to die, all his disciples will come and see him. Not because they love him, but that is the only time he is going to disclose all what he knows to the students. Till the time he will not do that. Just imagine if there had been a patent system in India. There would have been disclosure. There would have been documentation. If the documentation is there, that art would not have become extinct. That is the problem of protecting the traditional knowledge. I'll come about it later. So what I am trying to tell you is, the most important advantage of the patent system is that it enables the inventors to disclose their invention to general public instead of keeping it a trade secret. Next important use is that after the expiry of the monopoly period, any interested person can use the technology because the patent specification which the applicant gives for the purpose of getting patent protection makes it easier for someone to replicate the invention. An expired patent is adding to the technology in public domain. So after the period of protection is over, it becomes part of the technology. The second theory is incentive theory. According to Lincoln, patents add fuel to the fire of genius. Hey, inventive guys will always invent here. That is no problem. But if you give them some incentive and if you add fuel to the fire grows longer, generates more caloric value, right? And secondly, creation of technology is a highly capital intensive or risk intensive. Edison, Thomas Alva Edison, I must talk about him during this time. He took a patent for light bulb and he had something like 750 patents in his name. He made a lot of money from patent system, and many of the companies, big American companies he founded, are still today existing, and they have grown in a very, very big way actually. Now Edison, he took a patent for a bulb, okay, and people asked him, how does he feel about it? Now everyone in the world knows bulb, okay. He said, in my patent specification, I am only disclosing you the best manner of performing my invention, namely making the bulb. But I know 999 ways of how not to make a bulb, which you may not know. So what he meant is a creation of technology risk intensive. What you see may be one product, but behind that one product, there may be 99 failed experiments. Patent monopoly covers the cost of covering those experiments also. Every invention improves the quality of human life in this planet here. Somebody who improves the quality of human life, please give him the just reward. Okay. Now we have 4 patent offices in the country. Okay. And you have all that there, and let me go. And I will have to definitely focus on the patenting process and the trademark process. The trademark and patent process, give me the syllabus. It's part of the syllabus, so I think I'll cover that in detail actually. 1 minute. Law of patent, patentability, procedure for grant of patent, procedure, okay. Right, geographical indicator, chalo, yeah. So I have to talk about it. I think I'll do that in my next class. But let me give you a very quick introduction of this, and I think I have done this. All right. Then in this lecture, I will also focus on.
Yes? No. No, sir, you can go.
Okay. If you have questions, I have got that. You got that slide screen mode. So I have no clue even if you are typing out something. But do type out. Actually, you can put the other one. You can put the other one. Okay, go down. Yeah, okay. You understand this here? These slides, I skip it because you read it. These are the reasons behind the trademark protection. I skip it. Now, this is very important, and after I finish this, we will have the first break. Then we will come back to the next thing actually. Um, Please remember, it is there in the syllabi. Trademark infringement and passing off is indicated as a separate topic, and therefore I think I must cover this in reasonable detail. One is, please remember that I told you in the beginning, for trademark and copyright, registration is not compulsory. For patents and design, registration is compulsory. There are people who have unregistered trademark. What is the remedy they have under law is going to be the discussion now. Okay. Now, unregistered trademarks also have protection under law of passing off. See, I used to answer this question by taking this illustration. Suppose in a normal time, I'm not talking about COVID times. COVID times, you don't even have a train actually. Suppose I have to go from Bangalore to Delhi by train. Do the law compel me to take a reservation? Do I have to take it? No. There's a general compartment. If I like, I can get into the general compartment, sit there. But if the train is crowded, And if somebody comes and sits in my place when I go to the toilet, and if that somebody is stronger than me, there is nothing I could do about it. That's the but I can still reach my destination, Delhi. Whereas if it is a reserved ticket, like having a trademark registration, I have to keep quiet. I have to call the TTE and tell, hey, throw that somebody out. Okay. So, even though law doesn't compel me to have a reservation to go to Delhi by train, prudent people do. So, all companies, as a matter of rule, have a trademark registration. If you don't have a trademark registration, you can still file a passing off suit. I always say again jocularly that there are two ways of catching a cow. The best way to catch the cow is to catch the rope around the cow's neck. If you miss it, you can hold the tail and stop it. Cow may stop, very, very likely. But there is always a risk of getting a nasty kick from the cow. So that is what is a passing off case. And I have always found it easier to defend passing off cases, but trademark cases are difficult to defend actually. Now let us understand the distinction between both the two. Number one, mere possibility of confusion is enough to grant relief. It doesn't have to be deceiving. Okay. Then registration is a prima facie proof of ownership of the mark. Whereas in the case of passing off, actual deception must be proved. Okay. The plaintiff has to prove uh, by continuous use, he has acquired the ownership of the mark in question. See, please remember the degree of proof required for proving confusion is much lower. The degree of proof for proving deception is much higher from the point of view of a lawyer. You have to show that you adopted the mark in 1955. You need a documentary proof to show that. And you have to further show between 1955 to 2000, you have been using that brand, further proof. You have to give further proof to show that you had spent money by way of advertisement, etc., to promote the brand, and you have to further prove that the defendant was aware that you are the owner of the brand, and you have to further prove in order to make unjust enrichment for himself, the defendant having known that I am the owner had adopted the brand. If you miss to prove any one of these facts, you lose your case actually. So therefore, trademark registration gets you much better infringement. What is trademark infringement? Trademark infringement is actionable per se. This is from law of tort. What is actionable per se? You don't have to prove damage. I'll talk about this damage and damages when we have tort law. But in the case of passing off, you have to prove damages. Damages have to be specifically pleaded and proved. And a registered trademark owner can sue at his place of business. This is a departure from section 18 CPC. You can file a case where the cause of action arose, where the defendant resides and carries on business, and in the case of an immovable property, where the immovable property is located. But whereas that means my infringer may be in Ahmedabad, I can file a case in Bangalore. That means he'll have to come here to fight his case here rather than me going there. Whereas the passing off case can only be filed in the place where the defendant has business and carries on. Okay. Well, this is this international history of IPR, but I am going to send you separate PowerPoints on treaties on IPR, and therefore I am going to skip this actually. All right. Now I will talk this, and for the next class I'll send you one more PowerPoint right away actually. Okay. More about the patent process. Okay. And as I do the patenting process, I will also talk about how the trademark registration is done. Okay. Now, what I am talking about today is have a comprehensive approach to the protection of intellectual property. What do you mean by having a comprehensive approach? Suppose you invent a pen, register a patent for technology, design for appearance, trademark for the brand, copyright for the accompanying literature. Okay, design for appearance. What do you mean by that? You know that Renault pen? It has got a very peculiar shape actually, like this, right? Huh? How many sides are there? Okay, this is a design. Okay, and the cap is a design. And you know a Parker pen, I think I had one there, no? Not here?
No, sir. It's inside.
Okay. The Parker pen has got a, no, that's not a Parker pen, has got a clip which ends like an arrow, triangle shape. That is a design. In the, what do you call, Mont Blanc, they have a dot, right? And that is a design actually. That is a design. Trademark for the brand, Renault. You see this, I want you to tell you this actually. Take a Renault pen and look for yourself 045 Renault Fine Carbury. What is the 045? Any idea? This is descriptive. 045 is the diameter of the character that the pen will write. You understand? When I draw a line, what is it? It is 0.45 millimeter here. This is descriptive. You understand? That is descriptive. Anyone can use that 045. So long as the diameter of the character is 045. Renault is the trademark. Fine Carbury. Okay. This is what you call as the laudatory expression and it is not subject to. And there is another called laser tip and that is not protected by trademark law. Probably it can be protected by the patent law. And most importantly, if you are going to have a copyright for accompanying literature, okay, thus you will be in a position to comprehensively cover your intentions under IPR. Now, usually this Saturday, Sunday clauses, I want to give it first hour, 1.5 hour, 1 hour and 15 minutes and we started at 1:30, 10:30.
10:35.
Now it is 11:45. So we will have a break and I'll come to, one more talk and I'll come to that later on actually. See, yeah, I'm hearing you and I'll take questions when I begin my class.
Sir, I need a permission, sir.
Yeah, please, go ahead.
Sir, actually, it's Onam here in Kerala.
Oh, yes, I understand it here. Please, tomorrow is Onam for you, right? Or today?
So today, since it's a Sunday, we are celebrating here at home.
Okay, no problem. And you will get all this. I am also taking a, what do you call as a, it will be available in the classroom. And I am also taking a video of my lecture. I'll post it to you here. Don't worry.
Okay, sir.
Have
So
a wonderful Onam Sadaya. Huh? Only thing
Yes.
is, normally somebody would have invited me for a Onam Sadaya here. This year I am missing it. Enjoy the meal actually.
Okay, sir.
Okay, all the best. Yeah, please.
Happy
Yeah.
Onam, sir. Happy Onam wishes to all the
Yeah,
participants.
no, thank you very much. On behalf of everybody around, wish you a very happy Onam Ikshita. Okay? Take care and enjoy your holidays. Bye.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
All right. I'll just very quickly, I'll just finish this and maybe 2 minutes you hang around Ikshita and then you can
Yes,
go
sir.
actually.
Sure,
Because
sir.
I expect some questions from this thing actually. Okay?
Okay,
Huh?
okay, sir.
Okay. Infringement of an IPR, if you look at it, trademark and copyright infringement, there is both civil and criminal liability. For all other IPR infringement, there is only civil liability. Okay, that is the first thing. For trademark and copyright, you have both civil and criminal. For patent semiconductor chip, you have only civil liability. IPR cases are always before a district judge. Okay, there might be a question.